All right, let me ask you something real quick. And I need you to actually think about this before we dive in. When was the last time you felt like no matter how hard you worked, no matter how many hours you put in, no matter how many sacrifices you made, it still just wasn't enough? Like the money was never there. Like every time you got a little bit ahead, something came out of nowhere and knocked you right back down. The car broke down. The medical bill showed up. The rent went up. Something always happened. Now here's the question nobody is asking. What if the problem isn't your job? What if it's not the economy? What if it's not where you grew up or what family you came from? What if the real problem is that you've been given a complete, detailed, step-by-step guide to building wealth, and you've just been ignoring it? I'm talking about the Bible. And before you click off, just hear me out. Because I'm not here to preach at you. I'm not here to guilt trip you or tell you to just pray harder and the money will fall from the sky. That's not what this is. What I'm here to do today is actually open up these scriptures, break them all the way down, connect them to real life in 2025, and show you exactly why so many people are struggling financially even though the answers have been right there the whole time. This is going to be a long one today because this topic deserves the full conversation. So get comfortable. Grab your coffee. Let's go. Let's start at the very beginning. And I mean the very beginning. Genesis 1. Most people read Genesis and think it's just about creation. But look closer. God created everything, and then he looked at it and said it was good. And then he put man in charge of it. He gave humans dominion. That word dominion means authority, responsibility, and stewardship over the earth and everything in it. Right from the jump, God was not designing humans to be broke and struggling. He designed us to manage, to build, to create, and to multiply. The poverty mindset that so many of us carry around is not from God. It was never part of the original design. God's first instruction to human beings was essentially to be productive and to take care of what he entrusted to them. That's the foundation everything else builds on. Now let's talk about something that's going to make some people uncomfortable. Deuteronomy 8, verse 18. It says, "Remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you the ability to produce wealth." I want to sit on this verse for a minute because most people read this and they just move on. But this scripture is packed. God does not say he gives you wealth. He says he gives you the ability to produce it. Do you understand what that means? That means the gifts, the talents, the intelligence, the creativity, the work ethic, the problem-solving skills, everything you need to generate income and build a life, God already placed inside of you. He already did his part. The question is, what are you doing with what he gave you? Think about it this way. Imagine a contractor who builds you the most incredible house. He puts in the finest materials. He installs everything. He hands you the keys. And then you just sit outside on the curb and say you're homeless. That would be crazy, right? But that's exactly what a lot of people do with the gifts and abilities God placed in them. They never develop them. They never invest in them. They never use them to build something. They just let them sit there. And then they wonder why they're struggling. Your ability is the seed. But a seed sitting in your hand does nothing. You have to plant it. You have to water it. You have to give it time. And that brings me to one of the most important principles in all of Scripture when it comes to money. Proverbs 13, verse 11. "Wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it." Say that last part out loud. Little by little will increase it. God is so serious about this principle that he repeats variations of it throughout the entire Bible. And yet we live in a culture that is absolutely obsessed with overnight success. We want to go viral. We want to blow up. We want to hit it big. We want the come up and we want it right now. And there are entire industries built around selling you that dream. Casinos, lottery tickets, day trading apps, crypto pump and dump groups, multi-level marketing schemes. All of them are selling you the same lie, that you can skip the process and jump straight to the result. But God said no. God said the wealth that comes fast goes fast. And the wealth that's built slowly, consistently, day after day, week after week, year after year, that wealth grows and stays. This is why compound interest is sometimes called the eighth wonder of the world. Because it works exactly like this scripture. Small consistent contributions over time become something enormous. A little bit put away every month for 30 years becomes a retirement that changes your family's future. But most people never get there because they're always looking for the shortcut. Let me give you a real example. Let's say two people both start with nothing at 25 years old. Person A puts $200 a month into an index fund and never stops. Person B spends those same years chasing quick money. At 65, Person A has over $600,000 because of compound growth. Person B has stress, debt, and regret. The Bible told us which path to take. Most people just didn't listen. Now let's talk about planning, because this is another area where people completely drop the ball. Proverbs 21 verse 5 says, "The plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty." Plans, plural, diligent. That means consistent, persistent, not giving up when it gets hard. God is not saying talent leads to abundance. He's not saying luck leads to abundance. He's saying plans combined with diligence leads to abundance. Period. But here's the real talk. Most people don't have a financial plan, like a real one. They know how much they make. They kind of know what their bills are, but they have no budget, no savings goal, no investment strategy, no debt payoff timeline, no plan whatsoever. They just hope it works out. And hoping is not a plan. Praying without planning is not faith. It's wishful thinking. God honors faith that's backed by action. You can't just say, "I believe God for financial breakthrough," and then never make a budget, never cut unnecessary expenses, never open a savings account, and never develop a skill that increases your income. That's not how it works. Here's what a real plan looks like. You track every dollar that comes in and every dollar that goes out. You know exactly where your money is going. You set a budget and you stick to it. You have an emergency fund so that when life happens, and it will happen, you don't go into debt. You have a debt payoff strategy if you have debt. You have a savings plan. And you have some kind of investment happening even if it starts small. And that leads me to Luke 16 verse 10. This one is so important, and so many Christians miss it completely. Jesus said, "Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. And whoever is dishonest with very little will also be dishonest with much." Jesus is directly connecting your current financial behavior to your future financial increase. He is saying God is watching how you handle what you already have. And if you can't manage a modest income well, why would he trust you with more? Think about it from a boss's perspective. If you have an employee who can't handle their current responsibilities well, are you going to give them a promotion? Of course not. You're going to give the promotion to the person who is crushing it at their current level. God operates the same way. He's not going to pour more into a leaky bucket. He's looking for people who will take what they have, no matter how small, and steward it with excellence. That means no more telling yourself you'll start saving when you make more money. Start now. Save $10 a week if that's all you can do. The amount is not the point. The habit and the heart behind it is the point. And while we're talking about habits, let's get into something that most financial content completely ignores: the spiritual principle of generosity. Proverbs 11 verse 24 says, "One person gives freely, yet gains even more. Another withholds what they should give and ends up with less." In Luke 6 verse 38, Jesus said, "Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over will be poured into your lap." Now I know what some of you are thinking. This sounds like prosperity gospel. It sounds like give money to a church and God will make you rich. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that generosity as a lifestyle, as a character trait, as a way of moving through the world, opens doors that selfishness closes. When you help people, when you invest in others, when you give without expecting something in return, you build a reputation, you build relationships, you build goodwill, and you position yourself in networks and circles that can change your life. The tight-fisted person who hoards everything rarely ends up wealthy in the truest sense. And the generous person who gives wisely and consistently seems to always have enough, and then some. Now here's the part of the conversation that I really want you to lock in on, because this might be the most important thing I say in this whole video. Proverbs 4 verse 7 says, "The beginning of wisdom is this: get wisdom, and whatever you get insight." Get wisdom first. Before you try to make money, get wisdom. Before you start a business, get wisdom. Before you invest, get wisdom. Before you make any major financial decision, get wisdom. In today's world, wisdom looks like financial education. It looks like reading books on personal finance. It looks like watching videos, taking courses, finding mentors, learning how money actually works. Most people were never taught how money works. Nobody sat them down and explained budgeting, compound interest, credit scores, investing, taxes, or net worth. They had to figure it out on their own, and most people never do. They just repeat the financial patterns they saw growing up. And if those patterns were broke once, they just keep being broke because that's all they know. God said get wisdom first. So go get it. Read Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey. Read The Richest Man in Babylon. Read I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. Watch videos about index fund investing. Learn how a Roth IRA works. Understand what a high-yield savings account is and why your regular savings account is almost literally doing nothing for you. The information is out there, and most of it is free. The only thing stopping you is whether you actually want to change bad enough to go get it. And listen, I want to be honest with you right here. None of this happens overnight. None of it. This is a 5-year journey, a 10-year journey. For some people even longer, depending on where they're starting from. And that requires something that our culture does not celebrate enough. Patience. James 5 verse 7 says, "Be patient then, brothers and sisters, until the Lord's coming." See how the farmer waits for the land to yield its valuable crop, patiently waiting for the autumn and spring rains. Even God uses farming as the model for how wealth grows. You plant, you water, you wait, you tend, and eventually, the harvest comes. But nobody wants to be a farmer. Everybody wants to be at the harvest without doing the farming. The overnight success stories you see on social media are almost always 10 years in the making. The person you see blowing up right now has been grinding in obscurity for years before you notice them. The wealth you see in someone else's life is usually the result of years of quiet, unglamorous, consistent decisions that nobody was posting about. So what do you do with all of this today? Here is your action plan. Step 1. Get serious about developing the abilities God placed in you. Identify your gifts, your skills, and your strengths. Then invest in making them better. Step 2. Create an actual financial plan. Write down your income, your expenses, your debt, your savings goal, and your investment strategy. Step 3. Start small and start now. Stop waiting until you make more money. Step 4. Work on your character when it comes to money. Be honest. Be diligent. Be trustworthy with small things. Step 5. Be generous. Not just with money, but with your time, your knowledge, and your resources. Step 6. Get wisdom. Commit to financial education as a lifestyle, not a one-time thing. God already told you how to be rich. He put it in writing thousands of years ago. The principles haven't changed because human nature hasn't changed, and neither has God. The only variable is you. What are you going to do with what you now know? Drop in the comments below one thing from today's video that you are going to put into action this week. I want to hear from you. And if this blessed you, share it with someone in your circle who needs to hear it. Because somebody in your life is still waiting on the lottery to save them when the answer has been in the book the whole time. God bless you. I'll see you in the next one.